The galaxy was not a peaceful place. Thousands of stars burned bright, but many of their worlds lived under fear. A mighty alien empire ruled most of known space. Its fleets were endless, its armies unmatched, and its leaders merciless. Planet after planet had fallen to their power. Resistance was not just defeated, it was erased, and the Empire laughed about it. In their great halls, their commanders spoke with pride about how they crushed every uprising. They mocked those who dared to fight back. In their eyes, resistance was foolish. No world, no race, no army had ever survived their wrath. But something had started to change. Somewhere far away, beyond their central territories, whispers were spreading. A single human vessel had appeared in battle, and entire alien raiding fleets had vanished. The Empire dismissed it as a lie. They laughed again. How could a weak, primitive species like humans threaten their rule? They had destroyed humans before, or so they thought. Centuries ago, Earth had been forced to kneel before alien power. Humanity was allowed to live only because they were considered too small to be dangerous. A forgotten race with no fleets, no colonies worth mentioning, no voice in galactic matters. Now rumors said a human vessel was destroying warships. The Empire found the idea funny, absurd. They sent fleets to investigate, believing they would crush this insect problem in hours. They even joked about who would bring back the most trophies from the human wreckage. The galaxy watched in silence. Many other alien species hated the Empire but dared not fight. They had seen countless rebellions end in fire and blood. No one could resist the Empire. No one. Except maybe this mysterious human vessel that no one had truly seen yet. The conquerors mock humanity high above the planet Vorex Prime. In a colossal battle station, alien warlords gathered. The chamber was massive, walls covered in banners from conquered worlds. At the center, a round table displayed a holographic star map, glowing red with their controlled sectors. Admiral Kareth, a tall reptilian with sharp fangs and golden armor, stood laughing with his fellow commanders. Humans? A threat? Ha! Kareth slammed his claw on the table. I have eaten creatures more dangerous than their entire species. They do not even own a single dreadnought. Pathetic! The others roared in laughter. Commander Vrek, a hulking insectoid alien, clicked his mandibles mockingly. Perhaps we should let the humans try to fight. It will be entertaining to watch their tiny ship burn. A young officer stepped forward, nervously. But reports say 3 of our raiding fleets have gone missing near their border. No distress calls, no debris recovered. Kareth bared his teeth in an amused grin. Then we shall send another fleet, a real fleet. When the humans see the sky darken with our ships, they will beg for mercy, like every other race. The laughter echoed through the station. None of them imagined that this decision would start the greatest disaster their empire had ever faced. Far away, humans. Prepare light years from Vorex Prime. A lone human vessel floated in the blackness of space. Its design was unlike any alien warship. Sleek, dark, silent, built for precision and power. No transponders identified it. No signals escaped its hull. It was a ghost. Inside the command deck, Captain Elias Kane stood at the viewport, staring at the stars. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with purpose. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment. They had survived humiliation, slavery, and destruction. They had rebuilt in secret, far from the Empire's gaze, preparing a weapon that no enemy could survive. Status report, Kane said quietly. Engines ready. Weapons charged. Cloak stable, replied Lieutenant Mara Voss. She glanced at her captain. The Empire has sent another fleet. Estimated arrival in 3 days. Kane nodded, slowly. Then we show them what it means to laugh at humanity. This ship was more than a war machine. It was a promise. Humanity had sworn never to kneel again. If the galaxy wanted to mock them, it would soon learn fear instead. The Empire's fleet moves. The alien fleet left Vorex Prime with confidence. 50 heavy cruisers, 10 dreadnoughts, hundreds of smaller support ships. They were certain this human problem would end quickly. The fleet admiral, a proud and arrogant being named Thrax, broadcast a message across nearby sectors. To all who hear this, resistance against the Empire is futile. The humans will be erased and their vessel torn apart as an example to the galaxy. Many alien races heard this message and trembled. They had seen these fleets before and they knew what came next: death, fire, and the end of hope. But deep in the shadows, far from enemy sensors, the human vessel watched. It did not run. It did not hide. It waited. Fear and mockery in the council back on Vorex Prime, the Empire's High Council gathered again to mock humanity further. Their laughter filled the chamber as they imagined the human ship's destruction. 1. Warlord sneered. Perhaps we should capture the human captain alive. We could parade him through our cities, show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us. Another added with a grin. If humans are this bold, maybe they should entertain us in the arena before they die. Not a single one believed they could lose. The Empire had never known defeat, but far across space, Captain Kane looked at the approaching enemy armada and whispered to himself, "Let them laugh. Their laughter will be their last mistake." Suspense builds. 3 days passed. The Empire's fleet reached the human colony they intended to destroy. Their ships formed a wall of steel and fire, blotting out the stars. Civilians on the ground screamed as the alien dreadnoughts opened their weapon bays. Admiral Thrax laughed over open comms. "This world belongs to the Empire now. Any humans alive after this day will serve as slaves or corpses." But before a single shot was fired, sensors across the fleet went dark. Alarms blared. Something massive moved in the void. A vessel unknown to their databases, cloaked in darkness, slowly emerged. One alien officer screamed, "Contact, unknown ship detected." Thrax frowned. "How many?" The reply chilled the entire fleet. "One, sir. Just one." The alien fleet laughed again. "One ship? Against all of us? This will be over quickly." But the human vessel remained silent, its weapons slowly glowing like a rising storm. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy's greatest conquerors would learn that mocking humanity carried a deadly price. Space was quiet, but fear moved faster than light. The alien Empire's fleet had been sent to crush humanity's so-called ghost ship. 50 heavy cruisers, 10 dreadnoughts, countless support ships, an unstoppable force. Yet, 3 days later, every ship vanished without a trace. No wreckage, no distress calls, only silence. Whispers began spreading through the galaxy like wildfire. The humans were no longer just a forgotten race. They were a mystery, and perhaps something far more dangerous than anyone imagined. The news reaches the Empire. On the Empire's central world, Vorex Prime, the Grand Council gathered once more. Their mood was different this time. The usual mocking. Laughter was gone, replaced with uneasy growls and tense voices. Admiral Kareth slammed his claws on the holographic table. "How is this possible? 50 ships do not vanish without reason." A nervous officer replied, We have no explanation. There were no survivors, no signals. It is as if the fleet never existed." Commander Rek hissed angrily. "This is a trick. Some other power is helping the humans. It must be." But another council member, old and scarred from countless wars, spoke in a low, grim tone. "No, this is something else. I fought humans centuries ago when they were slaves under our rule. I saw a fire in their eyes even then. They never forgot their losses. Perhaps they have been preparing for this day all along." The council chamber fell silent. No one wanted to admit the unthinkable. Humanity, a race they had dismissed as weak, could be their undoing. Fear among the people. Far from the High Council, common citizens of the Empire began whispering in fear. In spaceports, taverns, and mining colonies, rumors spread about the ghost vessel. Some said it was a human superweapon capable of ripping fleets apart with one shot. Others claimed it was not human at all, but a machine that hunted conquerors and left nothing behind. An alien merchant whispered to another, "They say the humans built a ship so advanced it can move through shadows, strike, and vanish before sensors detect it." His companion shivered. If it's true, maybe the Empire isn't as invincible as we thought. The idea of rebellion, a thought long buried, began to stir in the hearts of many oppressed worlds. The human vessel's mission deep in uncharted space, far from the Empire's reach, the human vessel drifted silently. Inside, Captain Elias. Kane stood before his crew, their faces grim yet determined. "We sent a message," Kane said, his voice steady but cold. "The Empire knows we are not weak anymore, but they will not stop. They will send more fleets, stronger fleets." Lieutenant Mara Voss stepped forward. "Captain, they will paint us as monsters now. The galaxy already fears us." "Good," Kane replied, his eyes hard as steel. "Let them fear us. Humanity begged for peace once. We were enslaved, broken, mocked for centuries. No more. This ship is not just a weapon. It is justice, and until the Empire is ashes, we do not stop." The crew nodded as one. They knew the cost. They had chosen this fight long ago. The Empire's next move in Vorax Prime's war room, the Emperor himself appeared. A towering figure with burning red eyes, his presence silenced even the most arrogant commanders. "Enough failure," the Emperor growled, his voice like thunder. "I will not tolerate this humiliation. Double the fleets, triple them. I want every human settlement erased. I want this ghost ship hunted and destroyed." Admiral Kareth hesitated. "But sire, what if—" The Emperor's gaze cut him off instantly. "There is no what if. The humans are nothing. I crushed their homeworld once. I will do it again. Any commander who doubts victory will join the wreckage of our enemies." Despite his confidence, there was fear in his tone, a fear he would never admit. The unknown human vessel had shown a power no one understood. It had made the mighty Empire bleed. Allies began to watch beyond the Empire's borders. Other alien civilizations observed the unfolding chaos. For generations, they had been forced into silence, paying tribute to the Empire to avoid destruction. Now they saw hope for the first time. On a hidden world, a council of free races met in secret. An elder alien spoke softly. "The humans are fighting back. One ship has done what thousands of our fleets could not." Another younger alien leaned forward, hope flickering in their eyes. "If humans can fight them, maybe we can too." The elder shook his head. "Not yet. We must watch. If this ghost vessel is real, it will strike again. And when it does, the galaxy may have a chance to rise." A silent message. 2 weeks after the Empire's fleet disappeared, a single human transmission echoed across several star systems. It was short, simple, and terrifying. "We are not prey anymore. We are the resistance." The Empire tried to suppress the message, jamming every channel, threatening punishment for those who repeated it. But it was too late. The words had spread like fire. Every enslaved species, every beaten-down world, every soldier forced to fight, under the Empire's flag heard it. The humans had spoken, and the galaxy listened. The Empire's laughter turns uneasy. In the Grand Council, mockery slowly turned to unease. Commanders still laughed, but their laughter sounded hollow. Every new order to attack humans came with hesitation. Every fleet sent out had fewer volunteers. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's conquerors were not feared. They were doubted, and doubt was deadly. Admiral Kyreth stood before the council once more. His voice was tight with suppressed fear. "We face an enemy we do not understand. This is no ordinary rebellion. If we continue to laugh at the humans, we may not laugh much longer." The Emperor rose from his throne, eyes blazing. "Then, stop talking and kill them all." But deep inside, even the Emperor could not silence the whispers. The humans had survived. They had risen again, and somewhere in the dark, their ghost ship waited for the next battle. Space was silent above the colony world of Rin 4. The alien empire's fleet floated in orbit, casting a shadow over the planet below. Millions of humans lived on that world, refugees from Earth's past wars, forced to pay tribute to the Empire, to survive. Today, the Empire had come to remind them who ruled the galaxy. 50 warships formed a steel wall around the planet, their weapons locked and ready. Alien commanders laughed over open comms, broadcasting their words to the terrified humans below. "Your false hope ends today," Admiral Thrax sneered. "The Empire crushes all who dare resist. When we are done, your planet will be ash and your name forgotten." But far beyond the fleet's scanners, hidden in the darkness of space, another ship drifted in silence. Its hull was black as night, absorbing all light around it. No signals escaped it, no engines burned bright. It was a shadow, a predator waiting to strike. The human ghost vessel had arrived. Fear on the ground on Rin 4's surface, panic gripped the people. Families huddled in shelters. Children cried as they saw the alien dreadnoughts in the sky, blotting out the sun. A young boy asked his mother in a trembling voice, "Mom, are they going to kill us?" She held him close, tears in her eyes. "Not this time," she whispered, though she didn't believe it herself. But far above them, someone else was preparing to make sure her words came true. The ghost vessel awakens inside the human vessel. Captain Elias Kane stood tall on the command deck. The enemy fleet filled the holographic display before him, a massive wall of ships that outnumbered his own, 50 to 1. Lieutenant Mara Voss looked at him nervously. "Captain, they don't even know we're here. We could leave. We could wait for a better chance." Kane's voice was calm but firm. "And let them burn another human world? No. Today we make them afraid." He turned to his crew. "Weapons online. Target their command ship first. We cut off the head and the rest will panic." The crew moved quickly, their faces grim but determined. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. This wasn't just a battle, it was vengeance for centuries of pain and humiliation. The Empire laughs on his flagship. Admiral Thrax leaned, back in his command chair, confident in victory. He watched the planet below, imagining the firestorm that would soon erase every trace of human life there. "Pathetic creatures," he said to his officers. "They should have stayed hidden. Now they will be wiped from the stars forever." One of his lieutenants spoke cautiously. "Admiral, we're detecting something. A faint energy reading, moving fast," Thrax scoffed. "Another asteroid, no doubt. Ignore it. Prepare to fire on the planet." But seconds later, alarms blared. The reading became clearer. A single, unidentified ship was moving directly toward them at impossible speed. Thrax frowned. "One ship? Against us? Ha! Fire everything and end this joke." First strike. Before the Empire's guns could even lock on, the human vessel vanished. It seemed to tear a hole in space itself, blinking out of sight. Where did it go? Alien officers shouted in panic. Suddenly, the ship reappeared directly behind the lead dreadnought. Its weapons glowed like burning suns, and in one devastating blast, the dreadnought's engines exploded. The massive warship spun helplessly before erupting in a blinding fireball. The Empire's fleet froze in shock. One ship had just destroyed, their strongest vessel in seconds. Then the ghost ship vanished again. It appeared beside a cruiser this time, slicing through its shields with a beam of energy that split the ship in half. Debris scattered through space, glowing red-hot. Within the first minute of battle, 5 alien warships were gone, not damaged, not crippled. Gone. Panic spread through the alien fleet. The Predator hunts. The ghost vessel moved like no ship the galaxy had ever seen. It bent space around itself, disappearing and reappearing at will, striking from impossible angles. Alien gunners fired wildly, but their shots hit nothing but empty space. Their targeting systems couldn't even lock onto the human vessel. Admiral Thrax roared in fury. "Focus fire! Trap it! It's only one ship!" But every time they thought they had it cornered, it blinked away, appearing behind another cruiser, or dreadnought, tearing it apart before anyone could react. One alien officer whispered in terror, "This isn't a battle. This is slaughter." A message of fear. After 20 minutes, half the Empire's fleet was destroyed. The ghost vessel stopped moving and hovered just beyond their formation. It opened a comm channel. Captain Kane's voice was calm but carried the weight of centuries of rage. "You came to kill innocents. You came to laugh at humanity again. But we are not your prey anymore. Leave now, or you will join the others in the void." The silence on the alien comms was deafening. For the first time in their empire's long history, they faced an enemy they could not defeat. An enemy they did not understand. Admiral Thrax's hands shook as he gave the order no one had ever heard from an Imperial commander before. "Retreat!" The fleet turned and fled, leaving behind the wreckage of their comrades, leaving Rin 4 untouched. The Galaxy Reacts news of the battle spread faster than light. Billions of beings across the galaxy heard the story. One human ship, 50 Empire warships destroyed. No losses. Oppressed species whispered to one another, their fear turning into something new, hope. The mighty Empire could bleed. It could be beaten. But in the Empire's heart worlds, terror grew. The laughter that once followed every rebellion was gone. In its place was a question no one dared ask aloud. If this is only one human vessel, how many more are out there? Captain Elias Kane stood on his bridge, staring out into the stars where the Empire's fleet had fled. His voice was cold, determined, and filled with promise. This is only the beginning. The Empire's fleet had fled from Rin 4, leaving wreckage and terror in its wake. But this time, the terror was not for humans. It was for the Empire. For the first time in centuries, their fleets had been defeated. Not by an armada, not by an alliance of species, but by one human ship. A single vessel had crushed 50 warships and walked away without a scratch. And now the galaxy was whispering about it, the story that couldn't be stopped. No matter how hard the Empire tried, the news spread. They blocked transmissions, silenced witnesses, executed those who dared speak too loudly. But fear could not be stopped. In the markets of far-off colonies, smugglers traded recordings of the battle. Grainy footage from Rin 4 showed a dark human vessel moving like a ghost, destroying dreadnoughts as if they were made of paper, on mining stations. Workers gathered in secret, speaking softly. The Empire ran from one human ship. Imagine what humanity can do with more. For countless generations, the galaxy had seen the Empire as gods of war, undefeatable and merciless. Now that image was cracking. If one human vessel could do this, the Empire wasn't a god. It was just another tyrant that could bleed, and if it could bleed, it could fall. The Empire's Fearon Vorex Prime, the Emperor's throne room, was tense. The mighty warlords who once laughed at resistance now stood in silence, their arrogance replaced with unease. Admiral Kareth spoke first, his voice heavy with dread. "Your Majesty, reports confirm it. 50 warships gone. The survivors. Speak of a human vessel unlike anything we've ever faced. The Emperor's burning eyes narrowed. One ship? You expect me to believe a single human craft defeated half a fleet? Kareth lowered his gaze. I did not believe it either, until I saw the recordings. It is no ordinary ship, my lord. It moves through space as if rules don't apply to it. Weapons we cannot detect. Shields we cannot breach. Our forces couldn't even target it. The Emperor slammed his clawed hand on his throne, cracking the stone beneath. Then build stronger fleets, build faster weapons. I will not allow insects to defy my empire. But even as he shouted, he felt it. A cold, creeping fear he hadn't felt in centuries. Humanity had once been his plaything. Now they had a weapon that threatened his throne itself. Other races begin to watch far from the Empire's core. Alien. Leaders of smaller, oppressed species met in secret. In a hidden asteroid base, representatives from 6 worlds sat around a dimly lit table. A tall, slender alien named Rael spoke first. You've all heard the stories. The humans destroyed 50 warships at Rin 4, a reptilian leader hissed nervously. Rumors. Lies. The Empire cannot be beaten. Rael shook his head. No. I've seen the proof. The humans have a ship that can hunt fleets. The Empire ran for the first time in living memory. Another alien leaned forward, voice trembling but filled with hope. Then maybe we are not doomed to live under their chains forever. For the first time in centuries, the idea of rebellion did not sound like a death wish. It sounded possible. Inside the ghost vessel, the human vessel drifted through uncharted space, far from prying eyes. Inside, Captain Elias Kane stood with his crew in the command deck, silent as they replayed recordings of the last battle. Mara Voss finally broke the silence. They're terrified of us now. The whole galaxy is talking about what we did. Kane didn't smile. His eyes were hard as steel. Good. But fear isn't enough. They will come again, stronger. And we can't fight every fleet they send. We need the galaxy to understand. We're not just fighting for humans. We're fighting for everyone the Empire has crushed. The crew nodded. They weren't just soldiers anymore. They were a spark, a signal that resistance wasn't foolish, that the Empire's rule wasn't eternal. But sparks could die out quickly if the storm came too soon. The Empire prepares a trap. While fear spread across the stars, the Empire plotted revenge. In secret war rooms, engineers worked day and night building experimental weapons. The Emperor demanded new ships capable of hunting the human vessel, even if it cost entire star systems to construct them. Admiral Thrax, humiliated by his defeat, begged for another chance. Give me the largest fleet you have, my lord. I will not fail again. I will drag the human vessel's wreckage to your throne. The Emperor's cold smile showed sharp teeth. You will not have a fleet, Thrax. You will command 3 fleets. The humans believe they can fight us? We will drown them in fire and make the galaxy fear resistance once more. But deep down, even the Emperor wondered if 3 fleets would be enough. Whispers of war across the galaxy. Tension built like a storm, ready to break. Whispers of rebellion grew louder. Secret messages passed between distant colonies and enslaved races. The humans are fighting back. The Empire is not unstoppable. Maybe it's time to rise. Meanwhile, every Empire-controlled world was put under heavy guard. Patrols doubled. Fear filled the streets, not fear of rebellion, but fear of a single human ship that could appear anywhere, any time, and erase fleets without warning. Even in the Empire's strongest fortresses, soldiers glanced nervously at the stars, wondering if today would be the day the ghost vessel came for them, a promise to the galaxy. 1 week later, Another human transmission spread across countless systems. It carried a voice that was calm, cold, and unyielding. The voice of Captain Kane. For centuries, the galaxy has lived under chains. You believed resistance was useless. You were told no one could fight the Empire and survive. They lied. Humanity has risen. We do not fight for revenge alone. We fight so that no child, human or alien, will ever fear their sky turning dark with Empire warships again. To the oppressed, stand. To the tyrants, run. The age of fear is over. The message ended, but its weight lingered in every star system. The ghost vessel had spoken, not just as a human ship, but as a force for every enslaved race in the galaxy, and far away in the deepest reaches of space, the Empire's largest armada began to gather. The Emperor had made his decision. If fear had spread because of one ship, then the entire might of the Empire would erase that ship from existence. The next battle would not be like Rin 4. The Empire was coming with everything it had. The galaxy was holding its breath. For weeks, whispers of the ghost vessel had filled every star system. One human ship had humiliated the Empire's mightiest fleet, and no one could stop talking about it. But the Empire was not laughing anymore. They were preparing for war, and this time, they weren't sending a single fleet. They were sending 3 armadas, each larger than the last, combining into a wall of firepower that stretched across the void. Their orders were simple. Find the human ghost ship, erase it from existence, burn any world that shelters it. The Empire wanted the galaxy to remember one thing: resistance always ends in death. The Emperor's fury, inside the grand throne room of Vorex Prime, the Emperor stood towering above his commanders. The room was filled with the sound of grinding metal as war preparations were broadcast on giant hollow screens. Fleets leaving space docks, massive dreadnoughts armed with experimental weapons, entire sectors being cleared for the largest military campaign in centuries. The Emperor's voice was like cold fire. The humans believe they can make a mockery of my empire. They destroyed 1 fleet, but this time we will not underestimate them. 3 armadas will strike at once. I want their vessels shattered, their people broken, and their defiance wiped from history. Admiral Thrax bowed deeply, hiding his shame from his first defeat. It will be done, my lord. This time the humans have no chance. But in the silence of his mind, Thrax remembered Rin 4. The screams of his dying fleet, the impossible power of that lone human vessel. And for the first time in his long military career, he felt fear. Shadows of war far across the galaxy. Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge of the ghost vessel, watching a massive holographic display of enemy fleet movements. Recon drones and informants from sympathetic alien species had revealed the Empire's plan. 3 armadas, over 200 warships, all coming for them. Lieutenant Mara Voss stared at the data, her face pale. Captain, even with our ship, we can't fight that many. They'll crush us with sheer numbers. Kane's expression was calm, but his eyes burned like molten steel. Then we don't fight them their way. The Empire believes numbers win, wars. But we are not here to fight fair. We are here to end their terror. Another officer, young but fierce, asked softly, "And if we fail?" Kane turned toward his crew, his voice cold and sharp as a blade. "We won't fail, because this time we're not just defending a planet, we're striking at their heart." The 3 armadas moved through space like a tidal wave of death. They swept sector after sector, destroying any station or colony suspected of helping humans. Millions died as the Empire's fury consumed entire worlds. They wanted the galaxy to watch and tremble, but while the Empire hunted blindly, the ghost vessel moved unseen. Kane and his crew studied every fleet movement, every weak point in their formations. They had a plan, a deadly one. One night, as the ship drifted in deep space cloaked from scanners, Mara Voss asked, "Captain, why not run? We could hide in the outer rim, disappear forever." Kane's voice was heavy with memory and pain. "Because if we run, the Empire wins. Every child on every enslaved world grows up believing resistance is impossible. No, we make them afraid. We make them think twice before they raise their flag over another free world." The first clash it began near the binary stars of Gora 7. The first Empire fleet, commanded by Admiral Thrax, detected a faint human signature. This time, they didn't laugh. They moved in tight formation, every weapon locked, every ship scanning every particle of space. Thrax growled over comms, "No tricks this time, humans. You cannot hide." But just as his words left his mouth, a shadow moved through the fleet. The ghost vessel appeared between two dreadnoughts, weapons glowing brighter than suns, and in a single strike tore both apart before vanishing. Panic erupted again. Ships fired wildly, but they hit nothing. The ghost ship reappeared on the far side, launching a gravitational warhead that dragged 5 cruisers into one another, tearing them apart in a chain reaction of explosions. In the chaos, Kane's voice broadcast across every enemy channel. "You think your numbers make you strong, but you are only prey when the hunter is faster." The first fleet, over 50 ships strong, was ripped apart in less than an hour. Only a handful escaped, fleeing in terror back toward the Second Armada. Fear infects the Second Armada. When the survivors reached the Second Empire fleet, their reports shook commanders to their core. Stories of a ship that moved like a ghost, weapons no shield could stop, tactics no mind could predict. Many officers wanted to retreat, but their orders were clear: destroy the human vessel or die trying. They pressed forward, entering the asteroid fields of Sector Varan 12, where the ghost vessel was last seen. But the humans had prepared a trap. Mines planted within the asteroids exploded as the fleet entered, scattering the Empire's formation. Then the ghost ship struck again, tearing dreadnoughts apart, using the asteroids for cover. The Empire's ships fired blindly, hitting their own vessels more than their enemy. By the time the Second Fleet realized the trap, they were broken and scattered. Only fragments of ships floated in the asteroid field, silent tombs of what had once been an unstoppable force. The final armada, now only the largest and most powerful fleet, remained, the Emperor's pride, 100 ships led by his personal flagship, the Dominator, a vessel the size of a small moon. Admiral Thrax, desperate for redemption, joined the final fleet. But fear gripped every soldier, every commander. None wanted to face the ghost vessel again, yet they had no choice. The Emperor's wrath for failure was worse than death. Deep in space, Kane's ship floated silently, watching the massive fleet approach. His crew was tense. This would be the hardest battle yet. But Kane's voice was steady as he spoke to them. "The galaxy thinks this ship is only about revenge. It's not. Today we show every enslaved world that the Empire can be defeated. Not just once. Not by luck, but every time they try to break us. Today, we give the galaxy hope." With that, the ghost vessel dove into the enemy formation like a predator among sheep. The Empire's rage turns to panic. The battle was chaos. The Empire unleashed every new weapon they had built: plasma storms, gravity nets, tracking torpedoes, but nothing could touch the human vessel. It blinked in and out of sight, appearing where their shields were weakest, tearing ships apart before they could react. Even the Dominator struggled, its massive guns firing uselessly into the void. Thrax shouted in desperation, "It's just one ship! How are we losing again?" No one had an answer. Fear replaced discipline. The mighty fleet broke formation, commanders screaming over comms, soldiers abandoning posts. The ghost vessel hunted them one by one, turning the galaxy's greatest armada into burning wreckage. Finally, Kane's voice filled every channel again, cold and final. "This is what you bring to our worlds, Death and fire, now you taste your own terror. Remember it well, because we are not done." And just like that, the ghost vessel vanished into the darkness, leaving the Emperor's largest fleet in ruins. The galaxy reacts. News of the battle reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. This time, no one believed it was luck. Humanity had defeated 3 armadas, over 200 warships, and survived. Rebellions began to spark on enslaved worlds. The myth of the Empire's invincibility was shattered forever, and in the Empire's throne room, the Emperor sat in silence for the first time in centuries. His claws dug into his throne as he whispered a single word to himself, filled with growing dread. Humans. The galaxy was no longer silent. Everywhere, in every corner of every system, one name was whispered with fear and awe: the human ghost ship. It had defeated 3 entire armadas. 200 warships had vanished in flames, while the lone human vessel remained untouched. For centuries, the Empire's word had been law. No one questioned their power. No one dared to resist. But now, every slave, every beaten-down soldier, every frightened colony looked up at the stars and thought the same thing. The Empire can be broken, and the legend of humanity's ghost ship spread like wildfire. The galaxy talks on, a dusty mining world under the Empire's control. A group of alien workers huddled around a stolen holo-device, watching grainy recordings of the battles. The footage showed flashes of light as the ghost ship appeared and disappeared, striking dreadnoughts down as if they were nothing. An old miner whispered, voice trembling, "No ship moves like that. It's unnatural." A younger worker, eyes wide with hope, replied, "No, it's human. That's what makes it powerful. They fight like no one else dares." Another voice spoke from the shadows, "If humans can win, maybe one day we can too." The Empire's guards patrolled the streets, hunting for anyone spreading human lies. But no matter how many they silenced, the story lived on. The ghost ship had become more than a weapon. It had become a promise. The Empire trembles. In the grand war chamber of Vorex Prime, silence replaced arrogance. The Emperor stood at the head of the council, his blazing red eyes sweeping over his warlords. Admiral Kareth finally spoke, his voice low. 3 fleets destroyed, my lord. Entire armadas erased by one ship. Morale among our troops is breaking. Another commander snarled, "It's just one vessel. How can we not stop it?" Kareth slammed a clawed fist on the table. "Because it is not just a ship. It moves as if it knows every thought we have before we act. Our sensors can't track it. Our shields can't hold against it. It fights like the laws of war don't apply to it." The Emperor's jaw tightened. He wanted to roar, to demand victory, but he couldn't ignore the truth. For the first time in his long reign, he faced something he couldn't control, and across the Empire, whispers of rebellion were growing louder. His throne no longer felt unshakable. Allies begin to rise, far beyond the Empire's borders, on a hidden world where free species met in secret. A council gathered. Raal, the tall, slender alien who had first dared to hope, stood before the others. "The humans have shown us the truth. The Empire bleeds. Their fleets burn. We are many worlds, many people, and for too long, we've lived in fear." Another alien, scaled and scarred from years of war, spoke cautiously. "If we rise, the Empire will retaliate with everything they have." Raal's voice grew firm. "They already do. The difference now is that we know they can lose. And humanity has given us a weapon far stronger than any fleet: hope." A silence followed. Then, one by one, heads began to nod. Small rebellions that had flickered and died for centuries now had a chance to grow into something more. Inside the ghost vessel, the human ship drifted through a nebula, cloaked and hidden from all scanners. Inside, Captain Elias Kane stood with his crew around the holomap, their faces lit by the glow of distant star systems. Mara Voss broke the silence. "The galaxy believes in us now, Captain. They call us legends." Kane didn't smile. His eyes stayed locked on the map. "Legends don't win wars, but fear. Fear can topple an empire faster than weapons ever could." Another crew member asked, "So what's next? Another fleet? Another battle?" Kane's voice was cold and sharp as steel. "No, next we strike where it hurts most. We go after the heart of their rule. If the Emperor thinks fleets can stop us, he's wrong. We're not just a ship. We're a shadow over every tyrant's throne." The Empire's hunt fails again. The Emperor unleashed hunting parties across the galaxy. Hundreds of ships searched every sector, scanning every anomaly, setting traps in every star system. But the ghost vessel was never found. Instead, hunting fleets vanished one by one. Sometimes all that was left was a drifting hull cut clean in two. Sometimes there was nothing at all. The Empire tried to hide the losses, but they couldn't silence their own terrified soldiers. Whispers spread through their ranks. "The human ship is everywhere. It sees us before we see it. Even the Emperor can't protect us." For the first time in history, the Empire's own soldiers hesitated before following orders. A message to all species weeks later, a transmission cut through every comm network in the galaxy. Every screen flickered, every radio crackled, every hologram froze. Then a human face appeared. Captain Elias Kane. His voice was calm, steady, but carried a weight that made the galaxy hold its breath. "For too long you've been told the Empire cannot be stopped. You've been told resistance only leads to death. They want you afraid. They want you broken. But look to the stars. Look at what one ship, one crew, one will to fight can do. We are human, but we fight for every world that has suffered under their rule. The Empire wants you silent. We say, no more. We are the ghost that haunts your tyrants. We are the storm they cannot escape. And we are not done." The transmission ended, but its echo was louder than any weapon. Entire systems erupted in cheers, others in defiance against their overlords. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to believe freedom was possible. The Emperor's dread in his throne room, the Emperor watched the human transmission replay. His claws dug into the armrests of his throne, his fury boiling, but underneath the rage was something darker. Fear. For centuries he had ruled through terror, his fleets unmatched, his empire eternal. Now, a single ship, a human ship, had turned that terror against him. He stood, his voice shaking the chamber like thunder. "Summon every scientist, every warlord, every weapon builder in the Empire. I don't care what it costs. We will make a weapon that can kill this ghost." But as the order left his lips, a thought gnawed at the back of his mind. What if no weapon can? The calm before the next storm. The ghost vessel floated silently in deep space, watching over oppressed worlds, striking Empire convoys in the dark, vanishing before reinforcements arrived. To the galaxy, it was no longer just a ship. It was a warning. It was a legend. It was humanity's vengeance made real. And somewhere in the distance, beyond the Empire's borders, unknown forces were starting to stir. Old enemies of the Empire, long defeated, were listening to humanity's call. The galaxy was changing. The Empire's grip was loosening. But legends alone could not win the final war. Captain Kane knew the Emperor would come again, stronger, desperate, more dangerous than ever before. The ghost vessel's time as a shadow in the dark was ending. Soon, the fight would not be about fear. It would be about who controls the future of the galaxy. The Empire was crumbling, not in its walls or its fleets, but in the hearts of its people. Fear, The weapon that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was no longer theirs to wield. The ghost ship had taken it from them. Rebellions burned on dozens of worlds. Soldiers deserted. Entire planets refused to send tribute. And through it all, whispers of humanity's shadow vessels spread, making even the bravest warlords hesitate before enforcing the Emperor's will. But the Emperor was not ready to surrender. He would gamble everything, his throne, his empire, his life, to crush this human ghost once and for all. The Emperor's secret weapon, deep in the hidden shipyards of Zothar Prime, scientists and engineers worked in terror under the Emperor's command. Entire cities were stripped of resources. Billions died building one weapon, the Oblivion, a warship larger than any dreadnought ever seen. It wasn't just a ship, it was a moving fortress, armed with planet-destroying cannons and experimental dark energy weapons designed to tear space apart itself. The Emperor promised his generals, "This vessel will not chase the ghost, it will devour it." But even his own commanders whispered among themselves, if the ghost ship had defied every law of war so far, what hope did even this monstrosity have? The galaxy watches in fear rumors of the Oblivion spread before it even left dock. To oppressed species across the galaxy, it sounded like a final desperate act, a last attempt to hold on to power. To many, it smelled of fear. On hidden rebel stations, leaders met in urgency. Raal, the alien who had begun rallying worlds, stood and slammed his fist on the table. "This is it. The Emperor means to crush the humans once and for all. If they fall, we all fall." An older alien, scarred from decades of war, replied, "And if they win?" The room was silent for a moment, before Raal said the words everyone feared to hope for. "If they win, the Empire ends." The ghost ship prepares. In the depths of uncharted space, the human vessel floated in silence. Inside, Captain Elias Kane stood with his crew staring at the massive projection of the Oblivion on their holomap. Mara Voss broke the tense silence. "Captain, that thing's a fortress. Its weapons could split moons. If it finds us, there's nowhere to run." Kane's face was grim but determined. "Then we don't run. The Emperor built this ship to make the galaxy afraid again. We'll make it his last mistake." A young crew member whispered, "And if we can't stop it?" Kane's eyes burned with fire. "Then humanity dies standing, not crawling. But I promise you this, we'll show the galaxy that even the Emperor himself can fall." The hunt begins. The Oblivion moved through the galaxy like a nightmare given shape, its engines tearing holes in space, leaving dead star systems in its wake. Thousands of escort ships surrounded it, creating a shield wall no fleet could break. Everywhere it went, worlds trembled. Broadcasts of its firepower, entire moons shattered in a single blast, spread like wildfire, a clear message from the Emperor. The ghost ship will burn, and fear will belong to the Empire again. But despite its size, the Oblivion had one: weakness. It was hunting something it couldn't see, couldn't predict, couldn't understand. The first encounter. Near the empty void of Sector 91, the Oblivion finally detected a faint human energy signature. Its escort fleet moved in a vast net, scanning every particle, ready to crush their prey. Admiral Thrax, commanding the escort fleet after his previous humiliations, grinned with savage triumph. "Finally. No running this time, human. This ends. Now." But as hours passed, fear crept into his voice. Ships vanished from his formation, one by one, no explosions, no warnings, just gone. Ghost-like streaks of light marked where the human vessel had struck. Then Kane's voice broke through every channel. "Your Emperor sent you to hunt us, but you've walked into our shadow. This isn't your trap, it's ours." Suddenly, the escort fleet was chaos. Mines detonated from invisible cloaked drones, cutting apart formations. The ghost vessel blinked in and out of space, picking off ships like a predator culling prey. In less than an hour, two-thirds of the Oblivion's fleet was gone. Only the fortress ship itself remained. The duel, the Oblivion's sensors locked, on the ghost vessel at last. Its monstrous cannons charged, unleashing a beam of energy capable of vaporizing a planet's surface. But the human ship moved like nothing alive, dodging in impossible bursts, disappearing into tears in space, reappearing behind the fortress. Its weapons burned bright, striking at the Oblivion's shields, but the new ship's armor held strong. Kane's crew worked desperately. "Captain, their shields are feeding on dark energy. We can't punch through?" Kane's voice was calm, cold as ice. "Then we cut off their heart." The ghost vessel dove beneath the fortress, heading for its unstable dark energy core. Alien gunners screamed as they tried to follow, but the smaller, faster human ship was untouchable. It unleashed a series of gravitational warheads that ripped apart the Oblivion's power lines, exposing the core. With one final shot, brighter than any sun, the ghost ship detonated the core. The Oblivion cracked in half, a silent scream echoing across space before it erupted in a firestorm that lit the stars for 100 light-years. The Emperor's horror on Vorex Prime. The Emperor watched the live feed of his greatest weapon dying in fire. His throne room shook with his roar of rage. "Impossible! No one defies me! No one defeats me!" But no matter how loud his fury, he couldn't change what the galaxy had seen, the mightiest ship ever built, the last hope of an eternal empire, destroyed by a single human vessel. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Emperor felt the weight of his throne cracking beneath him. Fear, his greatest weapon, no longer belonged to him. It now belonged to humanity. The galaxy turns. The victory sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Entire systems rose up in open rebellion. Slave worlds seized weapons and overthrew their masters. Alien warlords who once bent the knee to the Emperor now declared independence. The ghost ship had done what no army, no alliance, no rebellion had ever achieved. It had broken the Empire's illusion of power, and as Kane's voice spread once more across the stars, it became clear. The Emperor's time is over. The galaxy will never fear his name again. We are humanity. We are the storm, and we are not done. The galaxy burned with rebellion. Worlds that had once bowed to the Emperor now rose in defiance. Chains were broken. Flags of tyranny were torn down. And above it all, a single legend spread like a wildfire no army could stop. The ghost ship of humanity destroyed the Emperor's greatest weapon. The Empire can bleed. The Empire can die. But the war wasn't over yet. The Emperor still sat on his throne, his claws digging into its arms, his voice echoing through his palace as he swore vengeance. The galaxy waited, holding its breath. The end of an age was coming. The Emperor's last stand on Vorex Prime. The imperial capital, the Emperor gathered what was left of his forces. Millions of troops, battle droids, planetary shields, and the last remaining dreadnought fleet surrounded his throne world. He spoke to his commanders with fire in his eyes. They believe they can end me. They believe humans can challenge the eternal empire. Today we remind them why we ruled for 1,000 years. But in the darkest corners of his mind, a whisper he couldn't silence gnawed at him. What if they come for me and win? Humanity decides the future. Far away, in uncharted space, the ghost ship floated silently as Captain Elias Kane and his crew studied the capital system's defenses. Thousands of guns, planetary shields that could withstand supernovas. A fleet, ready to die for their ruler. Mara Voss stood beside Kane, her face grim. "Captain, this isn't like before. This is an entire world. We can't destroy a planet full of civilians." Kane nodded slowly. "We're not here to slaughter innocents. We're here to end a tyrant." Once the Emperor falls, the rest of his empire collapses. Another officer whispered, "And if we don't come back?" Kane's eyes were cold, but full of fire. "Then humanity will die, making sure no one else lives in fear. Today, we finish this." The infiltration. The ghost vessel couldn't face the entire capital fleet head-on. Instead, it vanished into the void, reappearing deep inside. The system hidden in the planet's shadow. Cloaked drones moved ahead, disabling defense grids one by one. Empire commanders scrambled as alarms blared. "The human vessel is here! Lock down every sector! Protect the Emperor!" But the ghost ship was everywhere and nowhere at once, dismantling the Empire's last defenses piece by piece. Then Kane gave the order. "Take us in, straight to the palace." The ghost vessel descended like a phantom, breaching the planet's skies at impossible speed, dodging thousands of plasma bolts, cutting through the final shield layers. It landed on the palace platform with a crash that echoed across the capital. Human. Boots touched the Emperor's world for the first time in history. The confrontation. The palace trembled as Kane and his strike team marched through its halls. Imperial guards threw themselves into the fight, but they were no match for human precision and unyielding determination. Finally, the massive throne room. Doors opened. The Emperor stood there, towering and monstrous, his eyes glowing with fury. "Human!" he spat, his voice like thunder. "You think you can end me? I ruled this galaxy before your kind learned to walk." Kane stepped forward, his weapon ready but his voice steady. "Then maybe it's time you learned to fall." This battle was fierce. The Emperor's speed and strength were inhuman, his claws tearing through steel, his power overwhelming. But Kane fought not for himself, not for vengeance, but for every enslaved world that had suffered under this tyrant's rule. With a final strike, Kane drove his blade into the Emperor's chest. The tyrant let out a roar that shook the throne room, then fell silent, collapsing onto the floor. The Empire's heart had stopped beating. The galaxy awakens. The moment the Emperor's life ended, his empire shattered. Across thousands of systems, fleets surrendered, governors abandoned their posts, oppressed worlds rose in celebration. The galaxy had been freed, not by a vast alliance, or an overwhelming army, but by a single human vessel that refused to bend. Kane broadcast a final message, one that would be remembered for centuries. The Empire is no more. Humanity fought not for power, but for freedom, for every world, every people, every life crushed under tyranny. The age of fear is over. The galaxy belongs to its people now. Never again will one throne rule the stars. Cheers erupted across 1,000,000 worlds. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy knew what it felt like to hope. The ghost ship's farewell. With the war over, the galaxy expected humanity to claim the Emperor's throne. But Kane and his crew had no desire to rule. The ghost vessel simply vanished into the stars, its mission complete. Legends grew. Some said the ship still wandered the galaxy, watching over the weak. Others believed it had returned to Earth, ready to rise again if tyranny ever threatened the stars. One thing was certain: the name of humanity would never again be mocked, never again be underestimated. Because the galaxy had learned a lesson. It would never forget. They laughed at resistance. But one human vessel brought their doom. The Emperor was dead. His empire had fallen. Across the galaxy, chains were broken, fleets stood down, and long-oppressed worlds celebrated freedom for the first time in centuries. But the stars were not quiet, because the fall of a tyrant left a void in power, and every shadow in the galaxy wanted to fill it. And somewhere in that darkness, old enemies and hidden forces were awakening. The ghost ship's war wasn't over. It had only changed. A galaxy without chains. The liberated worlds burned with celebration, from desert planets to floating cities. In the clouds, Alien voices sang in joy, fireworks lit the skies, and statues of the Emperor were torn down. Broadcasts played everywhere, repeating Kane's words. The age of fear is over. The galaxy belongs to its people now. But freedom was messy. Old rivalries between alien species resurfaced. Planetary warlords who had once bowed to the Emperor now fought each other for control. Smugglers and raiders grew bold, preying on worlds that no longer had imperial fleets to guard them. Some worlds asked the question no one wanted to face. Without the Empire, who keeps the galaxy safe now? The ghost ship watches, hidden in the shadow of a dead star. The human vessel floated silently. Inside, Captain Elias Kane and his crew monitored reports of the chaos spreading across the liberated systems. Mara Voss leaned forward, frowning. We fought to free the galaxy. Now it feels like it's falling apart. Kane stood by the observation window, watching the endless stars. His voice was low but firm. Freedom isn't easy. The Empire ruled by fear. Now every world must learn to rule itself. But there's more? He tapped a control panel, revealing encrypted transmissions they had intercepted. Dark fleets gathering in unknown regions. Strange signals older than the Empire itself. Kane's eyes narrowed. Something else is moving out there. Something the Emperor kept buried. And now that he's gone, it's coming for us all. The return of old enemies on the edge of the galaxy, beyond known star charts. A war council gathered in secret. They were not part of the Empire. They were older, darker, and far more dangerous. An alien warlord with metallic skin growled, "The Emperor is dead. The galaxy is weak. Now we take what is ours." Another, with eyes like black fire, whispered, "We hid from the Empire's strength, but now only the humans stand in our way. We will crush them first." A fleet older than memory began to stir, preparing to march on a galaxy that thought it had just one piece. A message of warning, the ghost ship received a desperate call from a distant world. A colony once enslaved by the Empire was under attack, not from Imperial remnants, but from an unknown force using ancient weapons that even the Emperor had feared. Kane gathered his crew. We thought the war was over. We were wrong. The fall of the Empire woke something worse. Mara asked the question everyone was thinking. Are we strong enough to fight again? The ship is damaged, supplies are low, and the crew is exhausted. Kane's eyes hardened. We don't fight because we're ready. We fight because no one else can. The galaxy looked to humanity once before. We can't let them down now. New shadows rise. The ghost vessel raced toward the colony under attack. As it arrived, they saw ships unlike anything they had faced before, sleek, silent, with weapons that bent space itself. Whole cities on the planet's surface burned with blue fire. The enemy fleet turned as one, scanning the human vessel. A strange, chilling transmission filled the comms. Human ghost ship, we know your name. We watched you destroy the Empire. But you cannot stop what we are. Kane responded, voice cold as steel. The Emperor said the same thing. He's gone. You'll follow. But deep down, even Kane felt something he hadn't felt since the start of the war, uncertainty. This was not the Empire. This was something far older, something that might not be stoppable. The battle of the forgotten world. The ghost ship launched everything it had, moving faster than light, weaving between enemy fire. But this new foe adapted instantly, countering tactics that had destroyed the Empire's fleets. Mara shouted over alarms. They're reading our moves before we make them. Kane growled. Then we stop thinking like soldiers. We fight like humans, unpredictable. Using desperate maneuvers, feints and wild tactics no machine could predict, the ghost ship destroyed several enemy vessels and forced the rest to retreat. But it was a hollow victory. The enemy had tested them, and Kane knew they would return stronger. A new war on the horizon after the battle, the ghost ship hovered over the scarred colony. Survivors looked to the humans with desperate hope, just as worlds once had when the Empire ruled. Kane stood on the bridge staring at the stars, knowing peace was slipping away. Mara asked quietly, "Captain, do you think this new enemy is worse than the Empire?" Kane didn't answer for a long time. Finally, he said, "The Empire ruled through fear, but these things, they don't rule, they consume. The galaxy hasn't seen war yet, not real war. But it's coming." He turned to his crew, determination blazing in his eyes. "We brought down one tyrant. Now, if we want to protect what we fought for, we have to face what's coming next. Humanity isn't finished. We're just getting started." The ghost ship vanished into the void once more, heading toward an uncertain future, where an even darker war waited beyond the edge of known space. The galaxy had tasted freedom, but now it stood on the edge of extinction. An ancient force, older and more ruthless than the Empire, had awakened. Their fleets poured from the dark edges of space, consuming every system they touched. Entire planets vanished in blue fire. Species that had survived centuries of tyranny now faced total annihilation, and once again, all eyes turned to a single ship. The ghost vessel of humanity, the only force in the galaxy that had defied the impossible before, now faced a war no one believed could be won. The enemy approaches. In the command deck of the human ship, Captain Elias Kane stared at the holomap. Red markers covered it, showing entire sectors already lost. Only a handful of free worlds remained. Mara Voss whispered, fear in her voice. "We killed the Empire only to find something worse waiting in the dark." Kane didn't look away from the map. This enemy doesn't want power. It doesn't want control. It only wants to erase everything. The young ensign, voice trembling, asked, "Captain, can we stop them?" Kane finally turned, his eyes blazing with the same fire that had burned since the first day of this war. "I don't know. But humanity has one rule. We don't bow. We don't run. And we don't let the darkness win." The call for unity. The ghost ship transmitted a message to every free world, every fleet, every species that still lived. Kane's voice echoed across the stars. "We stood together to destroy an empire. Now we must stand again, not for power, not for territory, but for survival. This is not just humanity's fight. This is the galaxy's last stand." At first, silence. Then ships began responding. Old enemies set aside grudges. Broken fleets. Rearmed. Entire planets swore to fight alongside humanity. For the first time in history, the galaxy wasn't following a tyrant's command. It was choosing to fight for its own future. The Dark Armada. The ancient enemy arrived in the heart of the galaxy. Their ships were living nightmares. Black, twisted things that moved like predators in a hunt. They opened rifts in space itself, pouring fire that devoured everything it touched. Billions screamed in terror. Defenses crumbled before the enemy even reached the planets. Hope flickered and began to die. But then, through the chaos, a familiar voice cut through every comm system. "This is Captain Kane of the human vessel. We fight here, we fight now, and we do not stop until the stars are free." The ghost ship arrived at the center of the battle, leading the combined fleets of dozens of liberated species. The last war for the galaxy had begun. The impossible battle. The enemy armada outnumbered them 1,000 to 1. Their weapons tore through entire flotillas in seconds. The void burned with endless fire. But humanity fought like no other. The ghost vessel moved like lightning, impossible to catch, striking weak points the enemy didn't know they had. Alien. Allies followed its lead, inspired by the humans' refusal to retreat. Yet for every enemy ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The combined fleets were being pushed back, their line breaking. The darkness was winning. Mara shouted over alarms. "Captain, if they breach this line, every world behind us is gone." Kane's face was hard, his decision already made. "Then we hold this line with everything we have, even if it costs us our lives." The final gambit, the ghost ship's AI calculated a desperate plan. The enemy armada was controlled by a single massive war construct, hidden deep within the battlefield. Destroying it could end the invasion, but the cost would be fatal for the human vessel. Kane looked at his crew. This ship was never meant to survive forever, but it was meant to win. If we don't take that construct down, there won't be a galaxy left to save. The crew didn't argue. One by one, they nodded. Humanity would make its last stand here. Into the heart of darkness, the ghost ship broke through the enemy lines, dodging fire that could rip moons apart. It reached the colossal construct, a machine larger than a planet, pulsing with dark energy that fueled the entire armada. Kane gave the final order. "Overload the core. All power to the main weapon. We take it with us." The ship charged its last shot, a beam of pure burning light that cut through the void like a star's wrath. The beam pierced the construct's heart, triggering a chain reaction that tore it apart from within. The enemy fleets screamed through comm channels as they lost control, burning out one by one, collapsing into lifeless wreckage. The battle was over. The galaxy was saved, but the ghost ship was gone. The legacy of humanity's silence filled the stars where the final battle had raged. Survivors looked around, expecting to see the human ship return, but there was nothing. Only wreckage, glowing faintly in the darkness. The galaxy mourned the loss of its defenders. Monuments rose on 100 worlds, honoring the humans who had given everything to protect life itself. And in every corner of the galaxy, a promise was made. Never again will tyranny or darkness rule the stars. We remember humanity's last stand. We live because they refused to fall. Legend said that somewhere, in the farthest reaches of space, a faint echo of the ghost ship's engines could still be heard, a reminder that humanity's spirit would never truly fade. And if another darkness ever rose to threaten the stars, humanity would rise again.